5 stupid tips and tricks you haven't thought of. So some of these tips are stupid obvious. Some of these tips are so stupid that you have to wonder who came up with them. But hopefully all of them will inspire you and make you feel more prepared for your next miniature painting project. That's my mic, that's my mic, that's my mic. Wow, good job, you found it! Before we get into it, like, subscribe, and comment your stupid tip or trick down in the comments below. Number 1. Paint the most difficult areas first. For me, that's usually the eyes. And my greatest fear is doing all of this work, saving the eyes for last, and then messing up the eyes and having to strip and start the whole thing over again. So to avoid that problem, I just do the eyes first. That way, if I do seriously mess it up to the point that I need to start over, I can strip it and I'm not losing any other progress. The second part of this tip is that doing the hardest part first means that you're going to have it done and out of the way, and now you're going to have nothing but fun and smooth sailing with your miniature. I always feel this sense of relief when I finish a very difficult part of a model. So why not get that out of the way first by doing the hardest part first? Of course, don't let this become an excuse for procrastinating. For that problem, I suggest this video here. 2. Look at your model from the source of your light. Lighting can make or break your model, but it can be a bit difficult. The easiest way to know where to put your lighting is just to hold your model up to your face as if your eye is your light source. Anywhere that you can see is going to be lit. If it's parallel to your eye, it's going to be a highlight. If it's perpendicular to your eye, it's going to be a midtone, and if you can't see it, it's going to be in shadow. Here on this archangel that I am working on, I just flipped the model upside down and looked at her from her feet in order to see where I should be adding those highlights from my blue fire versus the highlights from my atmosphere lighting. Of course, you don't need to be doing OSL for this technique to work. You can do it with normal lighting conditions just as well. This also means that areas of the base that you can't see should also be in shadow. Number 3 is making molds with hot glue. Now, I can't sculpt, and I avoid it at every opportunity that I can, but sometimes sculpting is unavoidable. What I do during those times is I make a mold with hot glue. On this Monster Bash miniature that I was working on, I needed ears for this monster. So I decided to make a mold from this miniature that I already had. Before we begin though, let's make some ground rules. 1. This can very easily break whatever you're molding around, so please be cautious and careful. This model came to me broken, so I wasn't too concerned about breaking the ears any further. 2. It's not going to be perfect. The more detailed it is, the less perfect it's going to be. But for a quick cheat, I think that it's a great tip. Alright, now let's get into how to do it. 1. Wet your model with water first. 2. Take your hot glue and apply it to your model, and you want to work as quickly as possible. As soon as the super glue starts to harden, you're going to lose detail. So make sure that you're applying your fresh from the oven hot glue to the closest parts of the model so that you can get as much detail as possible. Once your hot glue is dry, go ahead and slowly remove it from your model. If you need to, you can use an X-Acto blade and very delicately try to cut another opening into your mold to help it slide out. But again, you want to be careful because you don't want to accidentally cut your model. If you did not cut it to help it slide out, you might want to add an X-Acto blade cut anyway. Consider how easy it's going to be to remove your green stuff after you've put it into the mold. For these ears, I was able to pull them off of the model, but then I did a quick slit before I put my green stuff in so I would be able to pull it out with ease. Mix up your green stuff, and you want it really warm and squishy. You want it almost the consistency of silly putty. You want it that warmed up. Next, go ahead, take some water, put it into your mold, again to sort of act as mold release, and then put your green stuff right on in there. And you want to pack it very tightly so that it fits into whatever details you were able to get with your hot glue mold. Green stuff takes a couple hours to dry, and I always let it sit overnight just to be sure that I'm not going to misshapen it by trying to get it out of the mold. Finally, once your green stuff is dry, pull it out of your mold. You might ruin your mold. I would just assume that you're probably going to only be able to use that mold once, but maybe you'll be lucky and be able to use it multiple times. Finally, after you've pulled your green stuff out of your mold, take an X-Acto blade and cut away whatever excess flash you might have on your model. 4. Utilizing blue poster tack to its full extent. Blue poster tack is such an underrated modeling supply, and you might not even know what I'm talking about because it's just so basic and unexpected. But I love blue poster tack. Number 1, you can use it to hold your model together when you're doing zenithal highlights without fully assembling your model. A lot of times, if a model is in a unique pose, like this archangel that I've been working on, where the arm is going across the body, I want to be able to paint the chest without the arm attached. But since it's such a unique pose, I really wanted to have that arm there when I was doing my zenithal highlighting. So I just took some blue poster tack, warmed it up by stretching it out, and this is really important, please warm it up first, and then put my model together long enough to do the zenithal highlighting. Now, if your model is large, like my archangel, it was more difficult and it really didn't want to stick together. But if you're just doing a 28mm model, it should be fine. To go along with zenithal highlighting and airbrushing, you can also use blue poster tack to mask off areas that you don't want sprayed. I use this trick all the time if there's a main area that I want to airbrush, but there's some smaller detail that I don't want to get that color on. I just go ahead and use blue poster tack and cover up those areas so I don't have to worry about my airbrush paint overshooting and getting onto those unwanted areas. Lastly, you can also use blue poster tack to hold your models to your base. Again, make sure that you warm it up appropriately, but it's a really great way to be able to apply your models to your bases without worrying about breaking them at all. And if your model is fairly large and keeps falling off of your grip, go ahead and add more poster tack. It's not like you can really mess it up. Number 5 is erase your painting mistakes. Now perhaps you didn't know that you could do that, but you can. Before you erase your painting mistake, there is one step that you must take before you can erase it, and that is to seal your miniature. Usually I seal my model either right after I've done something extremely difficult and I want to make sure it is safe and protected, or right before I do something extremely difficult so that it can be erased more easily. I use Tester's dull coat or clear coat, and it's basically going to act like the save as button for my work. So, now that we've got our clear coat applied, let's go on to how you actually erase your mistake. So you've applied your paint and you've applied it in the wrong spot or it's the wrong color. Now what? First, act very quickly. The longer you take, the harder it's going to be to erase. But take a damp brush. I have this short little stumpy brush that I trimmed the majority of the bristles off of, and I use this like a scrub brush and quickly wipe away whatever mistake I've made. Of course, you can also use your finger or any other damp brush. You could probably even use a paper towel, but the main thing is the sealant and then acting very quickly. If you weren't fast enough, you didn't see it in time, or if there's still some color residue, go over that area with white and then apply whatever color over top. I hope that this video was useful and helpful to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I would love to know what stupid tips or tricks you have. Go ahead and leave them in the comments down below, and if I get enough weird ones that I've never heard of before, I might even do a video where I try them out. If you like what I do here, the best way that you can support me is by pledging over on Patreon. Otherwise, you can buy my merchandise, which would be the coolest thing in the world, or you can just like, subscribe, comment, share. It means the world to me to hear from you. I hope that you are doing well, stay safe, and go paint more miniatures. Will you come film with me for a little bit, Moch? Everyone asks where you are when you're not in the videos. Everyone wants to know where you